Well, I thank you, everybody, for allowing me this opportunity. I want to thank the Chamber, especially for allowing me this opportunity to hopefully share with you some interesting and some helpful tidbits that you can utilize during this very unprecedented, challenging time. The title of today's seminar is The Art of Staying Positive, Productive, and Sane During Uncertain Times, which I think is obviously extremely relevant. Just to share with you a little bit about who I am, for those of you that don't know me, again, my name is Taryn Abrahams. I am a corporate behavioral specialist. So many of you are thinking, what the heck is that? With a background in clinical psychology, I created a company designed to help businesses address barriers within their people. And I create customized workshops to help create and foster positive behavioral changes. The ultimate goal of my service is to minimize harassment risk, mitigate legal risk, improve culture, with the ultimate goal of improving business outcomes. I'm a big believer that engagement and morale is directly tied to bottom line. So that's a little bit about who I am. What I have prepared to talk about today is, again, very relevant information. We're going to explore the different stages of the emotional journey of a crisis. Just like there's stages of a pandemic, there are stages of emotions of what we go through. So I'm going to talk about what those stages look like. We're going to learn about the science behind positive thinking. We're going to understand the art of cognitive reframing and how it works. Now, some of you, the word reframing may be a new concept. And if that's the case, then I'm super excited, especially for those of you to be on this call today, because it's very powerful information. How to stay productive during challenging times. We are living in a very disruptive moment right now. So staying productive is important for the mind, for the body, for our sanity. So we're going to talk, I'm going to share with you some strategies that will help you stay productive. We're going to talk about some environmental tips for optimal health and productivity. For those of you that know about feng shui, I'm not going to go into detail what feng shui is, but really the way our environment is set up can have a direct impact on how we feel emotionally. So creating a special space for you to get your work done is important, more important maybe than ever before. And some strategies for keeping morale up, whether you're a business leader or whether you're an employee or just a business professional. These are relevant for everybody on this call. So emotional journey, let's face it, let's be real here. It's been a very stressful time, and the reality is that we are in a global crisis. You know, and it's important to realize that it's okay to be scared. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be fearful of the unknown. We are in uncharted waters. And so the more we can understand ourselves, the more we can control how we respond to our stressors. Now, we can't control what's happening right now, but we can certainly have a level of control in terms of how we respond to it and how we handle it. And just as a pandemic goes through its own process and phases, individuals also go through their own predictable emotional phases. Understanding these phases are critical to your ability to get through these times. So I was going to go briefly what those stages are. Denial, blame, and acceptance. Now, this may look very familiar to you because a lot of this has to do with the process of grieving. And in a lot of ways, we are grieving. We are grieving over the loss of independence, the ability to just go out of our home and go see our families, go see our friends, the ability to go to work. But what we can control is how we respond to it. So denial is really where we usually all start, right? That's usually where the process begins. I'm going to share a little story, and I'm sure a lot of us can relate to this. Just 2 weeks ago, I was completely adamant. I am not canceling my live meetings. I'm going to see through this. I'm not going to let this disrupt my business. And 2 weeks later, now I understand, no, that's not what I need to do. I need to follow guidelines. I need to stay within my home. and practice good social distancing. So just in that short amount of time frame, you can see where me personally, I went from denial to recognizing that I need to make some changes. The blame is the second stage. And so this is an interesting stage because it's a stage that many of us go through. But blame is never really, there's nothing that really comes out of it that's positive. Especially in the case of a pandemic, it's usually not helpful to blame. Sometimes it feels good to do it as a release, but it's counterproductive. And it's important that we really kind of find ways to manage and contain our human responses right now, and that we don't make others feel comfortable in terms of being discriminate based on their country of origin, based on their ethnicity. The reality is emotions are running very high right now, but we need more than ever to find ways to be a little bit more sensitive to each other. Now, when you look at these three stages, denial, blame, and acceptance, some of us stay in the denial phase for a long time. Some of us are quickly moved to the blame phase. Some of us skip blame and go right to acceptance. So there's no real science behind how long we hang out in these stages. And again, that's where that sensitivity comes into play. I have friends that are still doing social gatherings. They're still completely in denial. I see it every day on Facebook, people getting together at the park. It's still happening, right? So the initial reaction is to judge, but we need to be mindful that that's just the stage that they're in right now in terms of their emotional journey. The stage where we want to all get ourselves is the acceptance phase, okay? This is where we accept the new normal, we create a new structure for us, a new routine for us, and that's a way that we can ultimately begin to cope with this better. This is where we all want to end up. Now, again, it takes us different amounts of time to get there, but that's ultimately the goal. Acknowledging the state of the pandemic development and our emotional response is critical. And once you understand a little bit more about these stages and where you fall, you then begin to understand how you can rectify it. And then you will then start to realize that if you can get yourself to the acceptance phase, you do feel happier, you do feel safer, and it just puts you in the right mindset. Now, that's what this is all really about. How can we get ourselves through this crisis situation, still maintaining a mindset that's going to help us turn this into a positive and continue on with our business. That is really the goal. So there's a science behind this, right? So Barbara Fredrickson is a positive psychology researcher at the University of North Carolina, and she discovered a few things, okay? She figured out that negative thoughts program our brains to do specific actions, and that negative emotions leads to a narrow mind. So perfect example, you're walking through a jungle, right? And all of a sudden, a tiger jumps in front of you. Our brain normally, our normal reaction is to have fear, right? But researchers have long known that negative emotions programs your brains to do specific actions. So for instance, in that particular situation, you feel fear, your instinct is to want to run, okay? You become tunnel visioned, you only think about the tiger, you think about the fear that you feel and how to get out. You don't think about anything else. Okay, negative thoughts program your brain at the same moment, and you might have, at the same moment, you might have an option to maybe climb a tree, grab a branch, or think of some other innovative way to get out of that situation. But your brain ignores all those options because it's irrelevant because the tiger is standing in front of you. So that fear begins to debilitate you. Okay, now that is useful when your life is at risk. But within the confines of your own homes, you are safe, okay? We don't have to no longer worry about being trampled on by a tiger, right? As opposed to like our prehistoric ancestors or people that live in areas where that is truly a risk. But the problem and the reason for this storytelling is the problem is that our brain is still programmed to respond to negative emotions in the same way by shutting everything else outside, which can really limit your ability to cope, okay? On the flip side, positive thoughts can lead also to deeper introspection and innovation. Just as I shared with you that example, if you were to broaden your mindset, you can think about other ways to solve that problem. So positive thinking really builds your skill set. Now, positive thinking isn't just some soft, fluffy, feel-good term, okay? Yes, it's good to be happy, but those moments of happiness also help open your mind to explore and build the skills that become valuable in other areas of your life. That's extremely important. So how do we do this? So I wanted to talk about a clinical approach, if you will, that I use a lot with my clients. I've seen this used in the HR world, I've seen this used in the medical world, and I've also seen this used heavily in the mental health world. This I found to be extremely helpful when I was in practice as a psychotherapist. It's the art of cognitive reframing. Now, what is reframing? Reframing is the way, is changing the way you look at a situation, therefore changing your experience of that situation, okay? For instance, we look at this coronavirus issue. We could easily look at this as the world is ending. We're all gonna die, okay? The reality is that's not the case. And a different way of looking at it would be, how can, instead of looking this as a major trauma and a major fear, we can also look at it as an obstacle that we can bravely overcome, okay? It shifts the experience from trauma to a learning experience. And using reframing can actually change your physical response to stress. We know through years of research that your thoughts impact the way you feel physically as well as emotionally, obviously. So if you change the way you think of things and the way you view things, it will change your body's response. It's extremely powerful. So how does this work? The first step is learning about your thinking patterns. Now, some of us may be very quick to be negative. We're pessimists, right? That's okay. It's a matter of educating yourself on the kinds of ways that you tend to think and the way you respond to stress. It is very common under times of stress to develop cognitive distortions. And I mentioned some of those before. We're all gonna die, those are cognitive distortions. If you really look at the science, we know that most people are going to be okay, okay? So the first step is educating yourself about learning the patterns, how you think, and once you understand this, this will lay the groundwork for understanding and creating positive change. Okay, so that's the first step, learning about your thinking patterns. The second step is noticing your thoughts. Now, some of us may be thinking, well, duh, that's obvious, right? But you'd be surprised that majority of the thoughts that cross our mind, we're not even aware of. And especially under times of stress or crisis, our thoughts become quicker, more automatic, and more powerful. And sometimes we don't even realize it's happening. Okay, so really notice your thoughts is an important step. Being aware is extremely important. And if you struggle to have self-awareness, I have a really, really great and easy way to become more self-aware. Put a rubber band around your wrist in the morning when you brush your teeth. A rubber band, a hair tie, and every time you find yourself having a negative thought, I want you to snap it hard. Okay, now first what it's going to do is, yes, it's gonna cause a little bit of pain, not crazy amounts of pain, but just enough to plant a seed. And you want to see how many seeds you notice throughout the entire day. My hunch is you're going to notice hundreds, if not thousands, okay, which is very normal. And I encourage you, while you're noticing your thoughts, write them down, journal them, take a log, take stock, okay? Once you know what your thoughts are, the next step, and this is where things get a little challenging. You want to challenge those thoughts, okay? Now, when I say challenge, I mean, are you telling yourself things that are based on truth, okay? What are some of the ways, other ways that you can interpret the same information, okay? Which ways of seeing things serves you better? Okay, so those are some of the things that really you want to ask yourself. And the goal here is, instead of seeing things the way you always have, you want to challenge every negative thought so that you can adopt a way to almost put a little spin on it. Now, again, based on real facts and data, but creating a little bit more of a positive outlook. I know that's hard, but that's the goal here. Okay, and then the last one is replacing your thoughts with more positive thoughts. When you look at something negative, see if you can change your self-talk to something different, something a little bit more positive. Okay, so what does that look like? I can't take credit for this slide, folks. I saw this actually on Facebook, and I absolutely love it. Please take a screenshot if you want of this, because this is fantastic. This is a perfect example on how you can shift your mindset or create a reframe during a situation that we're in right now. So that it's very quick for us to think, I'm stuck at home. I'm stuck at home, I can't leave. Well, a perfect example of a reframe would be, I get to be safe in my home and spend time with my family. Which, I don't know about you all, I've seen more of my 17-year-old lately than I have in the last year, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. These are memories we're going to have forever. Board games in the middle of the day, watching movies I've never had a chance to watch with her. It's been great. Another negative thought, I will get sick. A reframe would be, I will self-isolate myself and wash my hands, which will decrease significantly my chances of getting sick. Do you hear that spin? Sounds very different from, I will get sick, because the reality is, that's not accurate. If you take precautions, that's not accurate. I will run out of items at home during self-isolation. A reframe would be, I have prepared for this and I will use my items wisely. I have everything I need right now, right? And that's the key word, need. Everything is shutting down, I'm panicking. The most important places, such as medical centers, pharmacies, grocery stores, will remain open, okay? Or there's too much uncertainty right now. While I can't control the situation around me, I can control my actions. I can control my breathing. I can control how I respond to this. I can control how I take care of myself. So I love this slide. I remind myself of it every day. It's a great one. What we are in right now is a fight or flight response. Some of you might be looking at this slide and laughing, but I got to be honest with you, I thought this was really important to bring up. Every day people are talking about toilet paper. It's kind of comical in a way, right? In my professional practice though, anxiety is truly been very palpable. All you have to do is look at the stock market, and that will just show you the manifestation of global concern. Okay, our brains are wired to look for danger. And we really can thank our prehistoric ancestors. You know, back thousands of years, the ones that survived were the ones that were best at spotting danger. The first to see the lion and run from it was the ones that were likely to survive. So those were good things that we developed. The problem is though, we're not at risk of being killed by bears or lions or anything like that anymore, but we still have that mindset because of how we are wired. This week, our nervous system is completely on overdrive, and a perfect example of that is this slide. People running to buy toilet paper when we know the stores are going to be fully stocked. People still congregating in groups that fighting against the reality. People still trying to find ways to socialize physically. And then people running to the store way too often, grabbing things they don't need. I saw a woman the other day filling up her cart with things. I'm like, the woman doesn't need this. You just need food. You need, you know, basic things. So this is just an example of how when we don't practice mindfulness, okay, our instinct is to fight or flight, and it leads us to make choices that maybe aren't the best for us, right? So how can we stay positive during challenging times? It's a long list. I'm not going to go through it. I'm sure you'll get the recording. I tried to come up with as many things as you can do. I think the first thing to think about in terms of being productive is I think we need to be mindful that we are in the middle of creating a new sense of normal. That takes time, and it's important to be kind to yourself. What you used to get in, what you used to accomplish in a 9-to-5 day, it's probably not achievable right now. And guess what? That's okay. I think sometimes, and I would imagine most of the people on this call are go-getters, you are hard workers, some of you are entrepreneurs, you have big business goals. I do as well. On the flip side, we tend to be very hard on ourselves. We are competitive, we put unrealistic expectations, and oftentimes that's where our stress comes from. It comes from what we tell ourselves. See, again, that's self-talk. So be careful that you're putting realistic expectations on yourself. Be flexible. Again, your workday may look different now. When before you would sit and do work until lunch, now you may have to go out and take a breath of fresh air. You may have to take a break and make your kids lunch. It's okay. It really is okay. I would encourage you, make a to-do list every day. I am a big list person, but my lists look different now. They should be actionable. They should be, things on that list should be attainable. The best way to cause your stress to escalate is to put a goal on your list that is not achievable right now or too big for the moment, okay? So small goals right now are good. It feels pretty damn good to say, I did that today. Make it simple, make it achievable. Take time for you. Your health, your mental health is critical right now. This is a test of mental strength. We are human beings. We are not meant to be isolated. And so it is really up to us to practice good self-care. And that looks different for some of us. That means maybe doing an exercise, working out, meditating, creating a daily mantra where you literally stand in front of the mirror and you talk to yourself and you convince yourself that this is going to be okay. Because I got to tell you, folks, I know that everything is going to be okay. I don't know when that will be, but I know that it's coming. Laugh. It's funny, I did a video call with my family the other night, and something struck me very funny, and I just had one of those like belly laughs that doesn't happen too often. I tell you, it was like a free therapy session for me. Find ways to laugh. Don't feel bad about laughing. You need it right now. There's tons of comedy online. My favorite is Sebastian Maniscalco. You need a laugh, go online and look up any of his videos, and it will shift your energy, right? And that's the goal here. You want to shift your energy so that you can feel your best. Take advantage of found time. You'd be surprised how cleaning out a cluttered drawer can make your day. Things that you never had time to get to before, you can now have time to do. And don't feel bad about it. Feel good about it. Tell yourself this is part of taking care of yourself. That's part of being flexible. Ordinarily in the past, we wouldn't have stopped our day to clean out a drawer. Now, those are types of things I encourage you to do. Take the time to create your own workspace. I know some of you have many children in the home now. I would encourage you to really take the time to find your space. Again, our space affects how we feel. So take a little care to do that. Eat right? Eat your veggies, drink tons of water, take your vitamins. If you don't take vitamins, now might be a great time to start. Anything you can do to build up your immunity. Stay connected. I encourage you to do video calls, Zoom calls. Zoom is a godsend. It's been wonderful. Ways to keep morale up. So for those leaders out there, it's really important that you hear me right now, that the way you handle this situation, it will have a direct impact on those that you manage. The employees are looking to you for guidance. They're looking to you for reassurance. They're looking for support. This doesn't mean you need to have all the answers. Work with integrity. Be honest if you don't have the answer. There's a lot to be said for just being candid and honest. Practice empathy. Empathy is key. We are all fighting the same battle, but we all are in different phases of that battle. Some of us are still in denial. Some of us are in full acceptance. And some of us are still trying to figure out where we are. Okay? Be flexible. Again, how work gets done has shifted a little bit. Be mindful of that. And be intentional in your communication. Make sure that your communication has the right message at the right time with the right tone. For employees, utilize Zoom. Have virtual happy hours. I had one last week with a couple of Morris Chamber ladies. I got to tell you, I didn't want to join. It was late at night. I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. And I got off that call in a different mind space. I felt great. It does feel good to get connected. Make sure you stay connected every single day, even if it's for just a few moments. Find ways to support each other. It feels damn good to give. So find ways to give to others and obviously we have to get creative on how we give to others, but sending a simple email, sending a positive intention, a positive saying can shift someone's whole day. And learn to and really be mindful to be tolerant to each other during this difficult time. But let's remember, through disruption comes innovation. Okay? If you can practice being positive and calm your mind, some really great things can potentially happen from this. I don't know about you guys. I can't wait to see what people create during this time. There's going to be some amazing discoveries, new vaccinations, new technologies, new ways to connect. Maybe this will help ramp up our telemedicine. Maybe this will prepare us for 5G. I don't know, but something good is coming and I know it, okay? This social and societal pivot has the potential to, in a positive way, redefine work, redefine business, and redefine society. And as much as change is scary, change is good. Companies and people that fear change, fear it because of the unknown. But it's professionals that know that fear of the unknown will disappear when the anticipation of the gain is realized. So if you focus on what could possibly come out of this, that's a much better thing to think about than focusing on what's happening. So think about what's going to come out of this. And I do believe in my heart of heart, good things are going to come out. So a couple of sayings to end this. There's a saying in Tibetan, tragedy should be utilized as a source of strength, no matter what sort of difficulties, what painful experience is. If we lose our hope, that's our real disaster. Talk about wise words. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy, not on fighting the old, but on building the new. So let's look forward. Let's see how we can help our clients and help each other and bring even more value. And it is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light, right? So that's where that reframing comes in.
The Chamber, we're going to keep producing different programs, and I'm working as the Director of Professional Development with Megan to keep bringing whatever we can help you. And as soon as we get information from the SBA, NJEDA on grants and how we can help the small businesses and solopreneurs, those seminars are going to come up right away also. So we're staying up on, as the government officials give us information, we're going to make sure we get that information out to our chamber members and the community at large.